everybody, and welcome to Jobs in Showbiz. Today we have a special guest, Ari. We're so happy to have you here.
Thanks, good to be here.
I met Ari right after I graduated from university, one of my first feature films ever, and we've managed to stay in touch and even work together on a few other films, which is amazing. So 2 summers ago we did, has it been 2 summers already, Pompeii?
Yeah.
Wow, time flies. And you were a Convergence puller on the show.
That's right.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about that job and what it entailed?
Absolutely. So when I'm pulling Convergence, it's similar to a focus puller in the sense that I have to adjust the camera, but instead of me pulling focus, I'm setting how much is in 3D. So there's 2 things that I'll do. The first thing is decide how much depth there is in front or behind of the screen. And then the second one is how much of that depth is going to be popping out, how much is going to go behind the screen. So it's how deep it's going to be, and then where on the screen that actual depth is going to be. So the way we do that is we have 2 cameras instead of just 1, and it mimics your 2 eyes that you have, and that's what makes your 3D perception. So depending on how far away those 2 cameras are, or which way they're pointing at each other, that will mimic the 3D.
Cool. And with obviously a 3D film, there are focus pullers and Convergence pullers. How come there are 2? Could you not possibly do both?
No, you can't.
I know he's very talented.
Yeah. And I do both, but you can't do them at the same time because one, you're concentrating on just the actors or whatever you want in focus, and you're following them around. Where when I did Convergence, I'd have to decide how much is going to be in front of the camera and how much is going to be in front of the screen and how much is going to be behind the screen for 3D. So it's 2 totally separate aspects.
Right, makes sense.
Yeah.
And let's talk about training. Did you do this sort of job before? Where did you train?
That's a great question.
How did the opportunity come about?
So when I worked on Pompeii, that was the first time I had pulled Convergence, but I did another 3D movie called Silent Hill 2. And on that I was a second assistant camera, but I worked with the Convergence puller, so I got to learn the ropes and understand how it all works. But it's the type of position where you can read as much as you want, but until you actually do the hands-on work, you're not going to know exactly how it works and how to finesse it. So most of it is hands-on training when you're actually on set. And
do you familiarize yourself with the equipment during prep, or do you research on your own time?
Yeah, you have prep for it, and you have to have prep because there's so many things that can go wrong. You have to align the cameras, and if they're not aligned perfectly, you can get really sick. You'll actually throw up sometimes. People will go to a 3D movie, and if it's not done properly, it can give you a really bad headache, and some people can't even watch it. So it's crucial that you line up both cameras perfectly so that you can mimic 3D and not hurt people at the same time.
Exactly, exactly. So where did you train for Convergence? Was there like a special program? Like where can people go if they're interested?
As far as I know, there's no program to learn Convergence. The only way you could do it besides being on set is go to a 3D rental house and they can show you the ropes. But again, until you actually physically do it and practice it in a real life setting, it's just theory at that point. There's lots of material you can read, but again, it's quite daunting a lot of the time. So I find the best way for that type of position is just to learn hands-on yourself.
Is there something that you learned in particular that stood out for you? Maybe a tip for our viewers?
A tip for our viewers? I guess for 3D, a lot of the older 3D movies that were out, I'm talking decades ago, they would try to sensationalize 3D where they'd have stuff just pop out of the screen all the time.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was until, at least for me, when I saw Avatar, where I was blown away by the 3D-ness of a movie because most of the action happened behind the screen. A little bit came in front, but most of it was behind. So it was actually like a window where you could view this whole world, and that was quite incredible. So I know that when we made Pompeii, we treated it in a similar fashion where most of it would happen behind the camera. We'd have some stuff come out when there's surprise elements and you want to punctuate that for the audience. But on the whole, we tried to keep it towards the screen and back and create as much depth as possible, just to make it more realistic.
For sure, and that movie was amazing. And Pompeii too, so you guys should all see it.
That's right.
I know you pull focus on a daily basis. Do you have a preference? Convergence puller, focus puller?
Convergence was a
comedian.
Comedian. Convergence pulling was really neat, and it was a cool new experience for me. But focus pulling, I like the action of that much more. It's a lot more challenging. So for me, it keeps me more engaged, more excited about it. So for me, I prefer focus pulling. And the thing is, as well, there aren't a ton of 3D movies that are shot in 3D. Most of them are now done in post-production. So there aren't a lot of opportunities as a Convergence puller. but it's still an excellent job to do, and it has its own set of challenges.
For sure. And you were great at it because it all looked beautiful.
Yeah, nobody threw up as far as I know, so that's good.
Last question. If there was another job you could do on set, what would it be and why?
That's a great question. Well, outside the camera department, probably an AD, so an assistant director would be cool. Craft service would be fun. I like to cook.
Yeah.
And it's
Anytime
great
you want to
because
cook me something, I'll test it out for you.
You're on.
Well, thank you, Ari, and
You're
thank
welcome.
you guys for watching.
Thank you.